Every night before bed, the man would tape his door shut with adhesive strips, scatter a layer of fine sand around his bed, and chain himself down tightly with a dog leash. He did all this to prevent himself from sleepwalking, believing these measures were foolproof. Yet when he woke up, he found himself lying in the wilderness, his jaw inexplicably dislocated. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he staggered to his feet, only to face an utterly unfamiliar landscape. As he stood there, bewildered, a strange voice echoed out of nowhere.
Go back to sleep, worm.
Stephen glanced around but found no source for the sound. He tried to communicate, probing for answers, but the cryptic replies only deepened his confusion. Then, he discovered a golden scarab in his pocket. As he fiddled with it, an eerie gust of wind swept over him. He spun around, and there stood a castle, with a shadowy figure watching him from within. Out of reflex, Stephen raised a hand in greeting. But in the next instant, the figure drew a weapon and attacked without hesitation. Stephen bolted, fleeing until he reached a small town, yet his pursuer was still close behind. Desperate, he pulled up his hood to hide his face. Just then, a middle-aged man named Arthur, surrounded by a crowd, stepped solemnly into the town square. They seemed to be conducting some kind of ritual. A volunteer stepped forward. Arthur clasped the man's hands, and moments later, the scale-shaped mark on Arthur's arm glowed green, signaling that the man was judged pure of heart. But the next subject, an elderly woman, was not so fortunate. The scale on Arthur's arm turned blood red, branding her as wicked. Without hesitation, Arthur ended her life. Then, a burly man whispered something to Arthur. His expression darkened, and he shouted an arcane command in a guttural dialect. The crowd dropped to their knees, but Stephen reacted too slowly. He was exposed.
I know you.
Arthur demanded the golden scarab. To save himself, Stephen tried to hand it over, but his body refused to obey. No matter how hard he strained, his fingers wouldn't unclench. When he finally managed to pry his hand open, another mishap followed. Enraged at what he saw as mockery, Arthur ordered his men to seize Stephen. They wrestled the scarab away, but in the next instant, Stephen's vision blurred. When it cleared, Arthur's men lay unconscious on the ground, and the scarab was back in his grip. Realizing explanations were useless, Stephen turned and ran. Then, the strange voice spoke again.
Don't you dare drop the scarab.